In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to edit photos or pictures in Adobe Photoshop CC. In this video, you're going to learn everything that you need to know in under 15 minutes. So once you have Adobe Photoshop open, you're going to be given this prompt or this layer under the layers panel. Basically, I'm going to go like that so you don't see it. Feel free to drag on any image that you want onto your project. So once the image is dragged on, you can adjust it like so by having and clicking these sliding icons. You move it up and down and then click this arrow to check mark it. And then as far as locating photos, you can go under file or saving your project. We can save this, save onto your computer, name it whatever you want, and then click save. And then you can move your photo like this. So one of the first things we're going to learn how to do is remove the subject from the background. One tool that I like to do is click the W key on your keyboard and then click select subject. In this case, Photoshop does an excellent job of selecting our subject, as we can see. And if you right click and then click layer via copy, and then it creates a new layer, and then we can click this layer and click the eye icon, and now we just have the subject and the background has been removed. There is another way of going about doing this. There's the quick selection tool. So go over to your left over here, and then the quick shortcut is W, or it's right here, object selection or quick selection tool. Then select your subject accordingly by just tapping onto the screen, and Photoshop will do a good job of selecting the subject. You can even hold onto the screen while selecting your subject, and Photoshop will select your subject for you. Now there might be some parts that you do not want to select. What you can do is you can click the Q button and your background becomes red. And then what you can do is you can add right here on the top screen, or you can subtract from your selection. So if we want to subtract from our selection, we can zoom in. I'm holding down Alt and I'm zooming in on the mouse, and we want a part of this to be in the selection, the hat. So holding down or clicking, and then it adds to the selection. And then once you're done, you can click Control and then D to deselect. Click Q and then click select subject. This has come up. This will discard your current selection. Do you wish to continue? Excuse me, I had it under this layer. You want to have it on the original image. Select subject, click OK. And then once it's selected, you do the same thing. Right click, layer via copy, or you can click new layer, and we have almost identical images. So we also have another way to remove the subject. It's the lasso tool as well. You can click L on your keyboard, and then when you right click right here on the left side, you have the lasso tool, the poly lasso. The poly lasso you click every single time you want to remove a subject or highlight something. It can be a little bit time consuming. I'm just clicking, and then once you click enter, it selects everything. Control D. And then here we have the magnetic lasso tool. So when you click on somewhere in the image, you don't have to click, you just move your mouse up or move it down, and it will select your subject accordingly as well. And then you can click enter and it will select your subject. Now both of these ways, the quick selection tool and the poly lasso tool, there are pros and cons for each. How do you make your background blurry? Assuming you have already selected your subjects, as we see, we click our original image, we go to filter, and then we go under to blur, and then choose a Gaussian blur. And as you can see, we have pixels. 8 pixels makes our image very good looking, and that's one way you can make your image blurry. Control Z, you can go to filter, go to blur, you can do box blur, a little bit different, but very similar to the Gaussian blur. Control Z, blur, there's motion blur, a little similar but a little different. Control Z, and that's how you would blur your image. If you want to make your image just one color in the background from your subject, then you can click the U button on your keyboard. It brings up the rectangle icon, and then click somewhere on your screen, drag, and then hold. And then wow, look at that, there's an image selected. And then in order for the box to be underneath your subject, assuming it was on top, you click under the layer panel and you drag beneath, and then you can adjust it by clicking and holding. And if you click Control plus T, you can now adjust this like so. And if you want to make this another color, then click the G button and it pulls up the paint bucket tool right here. You can right click and click G, and you can click, it says it cannot be used, so you have to go over to your rectangle and right click and click rasterize or convert to a smart object, rasterize, and then go under right here to your panel on the left side where it says color. Click on that. Let's say we want to make it white, just drag it up and then click. And now your subject or your background is completely white. Okay, so how do you make an image as colorful as humanly possible? That is a great question. You go under filter. You can go under camera raw filter. This is like editing a raw picture. This window is going to pop up. And basically what I would like to do, you can follow along if you want. These are my best settings. I drag the exposure up or down, exposure up, contrast down, highlights down, shadows, the darker areas come up, the whites in the picture come up. It kind of compensates from highlights, and then blacks go down, and then it brings more contrast. Texture, I'd like to bring this up 30 or so, and then vibrance and saturation. And click OK. And look how much of a difference that this actually had made. Again, we can still click the background if we want, and we can make this blurry. Go to filter, blur, we'll go to motion blur, and then enable our layers or our masks. And look how this looks. Now obviously I can drag the smart filter. So let's apply the same thing to our mask. We go to filter, camera raw filter, just adjusting the same settings like last time. And wow, look at that image. You've made your image a little bit colorful and the background is blurry as well. Here's a way to sharpen your image in the background. Click on your image or your layer, go to filter, go under where it says sharpen. You can do unsharpen mask. This is my favorite settings for this. We have 50%, 10 pixels, and threshold. If you want to preview it, you can click this button. That's the before, that's the after. You can click OK. I'm going to Control Z. There's another way you can do it under sharpen. There is a smart sharpened. And then under here, we have different sharpens: motion, lens blur, and Gaussian blur. My favorite is the Gaussian blur, and this is my favorite setting too. It makes the image look like a cartoon. 200% and then 10 pixel. You can click OK. Here's some shortcuts on how to make your images better. For an example, you can click your image right here, and if you click Control plus J, it makes a copy of your image. And you can even right click of your image where the smart filters, and you can click clear smart filters. And if you want to copy something onto another image, let me pull in an image as an example. So for this image, if we want the same exact filter as we have under this image, then we click our image, click smart filter, and then click Alt, hold down Alt, and drag the smart filter. So we have the similar effects as we click, hold Alt, and then drag. Okay, so here's a really cool shortcut when it comes to cloning things. If you want to remove this part of the image, I have a name tag, then basically you click on your image, make sure it is rasterized, and then click the S tool, and this will bring up the clone stamp tool. Scroll in by holding down Alt and zooming in on your mouse, and then anywhere where you want to replace this with the image, you want to click or hold down Alt and click to highlight, and then click where you want to remove it. And then go back, click hold Alt, click. And then if you click the left arrow key like that, it will make your brush smaller. If you click it to the right, it makes it bigger. Alt, just like that. So you can see it got rid of my name tag. Another cool feature is the eyedropper tool. So if you click eye, it will bring this up, the eyedropper tool, where you can click anywhere in your image and it will select that color. And if you go under color, it has selected that color. So this is good because if you want, you can click your L tool, your lasso tool. If you hold down Shift and L, it changes, and I'm using the Paulo Lassi tool, and I'm clicking in the image, and let's say we want this color green. Then I go back to my original layer, right click layer via copy, and then I click over here and I click the eyedropper tool, and then I copy this right here. I go to the paint bucket, I click where we have, it brings this up, I go to G, and now I can paint this exactly the way it is painted, which is color green. Another cool feature in Adobe Photoshop is if you click the V, it deselects. If you click the T, then you can add text. You drag anywhere on the screen and you can type anywhere. You can change the font by going on top of here. I like the font Impact, which is IMPACK, and you can change whether it's bold, regular, underline. You can change the font size. If you click on the screen and you do Control A, it highlights everything. You can click your font size and change this to 200. And it makes it a smaller font, but I like the larger font of 300. You can even change whether it goes to the left, centered, or flush to the right. You can click this text icon right here. You have different styles. The text will arc, it will bulge, flag, but I like nothing. I like it normal. You can click the check mark, and if you right click on your text, you go to blending options, and you can even add a drop shadow, which will add a little shadow like that. I like to have mine color black. You can increase the distance, the spread of the drop shadow, and the size to see how big the size actually is of your drop shadow. And then if you click here, you can change the color. It's color red, color white, color black. Another cool feature is stroke. You click that, and as you can see, it adds a little bit of some outline outside, and you can change the sizing so there's more outline, or you can make it smaller. You can make the stroke outside, inside, but I like it outside. And then click OK. So this is how you export an image. You go under File, you go under Export. You can click Export as a PNG, or you can click Export as. This menu will pop up. I keep everything the same. I keep it under PNG. You can change it under the JPEG, GIF, or SVG. And then I typically have it checkmarked as a smaller file or 8-bit. Once this load, it will show your image size. If you uncheck smaller file, then instead of 826, it's 3.2. So I keep it right there. Click Export. Save it somewhere under your desktop. Click Save. Thank you for watching this free Adobe Photoshop photo editing tutorial online. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you found value, drop this video a like, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel for more technology content creation videos. And I'll check you in the next one. Peace.